What's ethical AI? Imagine the scene for a moment. You are a top executive at a powerhouse like Disney, a streaming giant like Netflix, or perhaps the culturally revered indie darling A24. You are sitting in a sterile, glass-walled conference room, having just signed off on a deal worth millions of dollars, a deal you've been told is essential for the very survival of your studio in the 21st century. You've bet the farm on a revolutionary new artificial intelligence technology. Then, the chief executive officer of that very company, the man who holds the digital keys to your entire creative kingdom, the man you are now fundamentally dependent on, asks that question. He doesn't ask it with the Socratic curiosity of a philosopher or with a thoughtful pause meant to inspire a healthy debate. He asks it with the straightforward, almost dismissive candor of an engineer who has already moved on to the next problem. A question so fundamental, yet so casually posed, that it sends a perceptible, ice-cold chill down the collective spine of Hollywood. That man is Cristóbal Valenzuela, the mid-30s Chilean-born co-founder of Runway, an AI video company that has rocketed to a valuation of over $3 billion. He is the quiet architect behind the visual magic in an Oscar-winning Best Picture. And he is the technologist that Hollywood's biggest players are now desperately relying on, yet seem fundamentally unable to control. His technology promises to change everything about how stories are made, but his philosophy on who is accountable for its use is terrifyingly simple. You take the responsibility. Today, we pull back the velvet rope on the most disruptive and perhaps the most controversial figure in entertainment technology. We are going to explore what happens when an unstoppable force of innovation meets the immovable object of the Hollywood establishment. In this deep dive, we will uncover who Cristóbal Valenzuela really is and how he masterfully navigated his way from being an industry outsider to its most watched player in what feels like the blink of an eye. We will explore precisely why his company, Runway, has become the silent, indispensable partner for titans like Netflix and Disney. We will dissect his unfiltered, shocking take on ethical AI and the so-called safeguards he believes are the only ones that truly matter. And finally, we will reveal his grand vision for a future where animators can accomplish in mere seconds what used to take them entire weeks, potentially ushering in his own words, the best stories that are yet to be told. Is this the dawn of a new creative renaissance, or has Hollywood just made a high-stakes deal with a disruptor who openly admits he has no intention of ever putting the genie back in the bottle? Stay with us. To understand the earthquake shaking the foundations of Hollywood, you first need to understand the man at its epicenter. Cristóbal Valenzuela is not your typical Silicon Valley tech founder. His journey began not in a Stanford dorm room, but in his native Chile, where he studied economics and business. This isn't just a biographical detail, it's the core of his disruptive power. He possesses a fundamental, unsentimental understanding of markets, of inefficiencies, of how value is created and destroyed. But then he pivoted. He moved to New York and enrolled in New York University's prestigious Tisch School of the Arts, earning a master's degree from its famed interactive telecommunications program. This unique combination of hard-nosed business acumen and avant-garde artistic training makes him a uniquely formidable figure. The economist in him sees the bloated budgets and archaic workflows of Hollywood as a market ripe for disruption. The artist in him sees the latent creative potential waiting to be unlocked. He doesn't just speak the language of code and capital, he speaks the language of storytellers, cinematographers, and artists. He understands their pains, their ambitions, and most importantly, their fears. In 2018, alongside 2 other graduates from his program, he launched Runway. It began not as a billion-dollar behemoth, but as a project born from one of the world's most creative crucibles designed to empower artists. And its first major shot across Hollywood's bow came in the form of 2 talking rocks. When the genre-bending, mind-melting film Everything Everywhere All at Once swept the Oscars in 2023, audiences were captivated by its wild originality. One of its most iconic and strangely poignant scenes featured nothing more than 2 rocks with googly eyes sitting on a cliff and having a subtitled existential conversation. That sequence, a moment of pure, unadulterated creativity that would have traditionally been a complex and costly visual effects challenge, was shaped with the help of Runway's technology. It was the perfect proof of concept. It showed that Runway's AI wasn't just for cleaning up shots or automating mundane tasks. It was a tool that could enhance the most bizarre and brilliant creative visions. That Oscar-winning film was the Trojan Horse. It got Runway's technology inside Hollywood's heavily fortified gates, and suddenly, everyone wanted a piece of it. In just the last year, the floodgates have burst open. Runway has inked deals with Lionsgate, AMC, Netflix, and Disney. The company's AI Film Festival, once a scrappy gathering of what Valenzuela himself called misfits, transformed into a sold-out spectacle at Lincoln Center, now partnered with the cinematic giant IMAX. Valenzuela's pitch to the studios is a masterful blend of seduction and warning. AI will fundamentally reshape every single aspect of how stories are conceived, created, and consumed. And in this new frontier, those who move first will win. Those who hesitate will be left behind, becoming footnotes in cinematic history. This has sent the industry into a state of what can only be described as controlled panic. As we've covered, this is a period of, at best, destabilizing and, at worst, terrifying AI transformation. The major agencies are scrambling to keep up. CAA, one of the most powerful talent agencies on the planet, has already invested in a rival AI startup called Moon Valley. Their competitor, WME, is busy forging its own partnerships, trying to secure its place in this new ecosystem. The very training grounds for the next generation of filmmakers, top film schools, are roiling with conflict as professors embrace the technology while their students resist, fearing for their future careers. The animation industry, in particular, feels the ground shifting beneath its feet as AI's impact threatens to be disproportionately swift and severe. And at the center of this entire whirlwind stands Cristóbal Valenzuela, holding the matches to Hollywood's old rulebook. This brings us back to that chilling, central question: what's ethical AI? When pressed on the issue, Valenzuela is unapologetic. He believes that strict regulation, the very thing that many creators are crying out for, will only stifle innovation. His philosophy places the onus of responsibility squarely on the shoulders of the person using the tool. It's a classic, almost libertarian tech ethos, a belief in the unbridled power of the individual creator. But this philosophy is a digital atom bomb dropped into the meticulously constructed, garden-like ecosystem of Hollywood's legal and ethical standards. For over a century, the entire industry has been built on a fortified foundation of intellectual property rights, guild negotiations, and the sacred concept of an artist's ownership over their own work and likeness. Valenzuela's stance suggests that if a user takes his tool and creates something harmful, defamatory, or infringing, for example, generating a political attack ad using a deepfake of a public figure, or creating an entire movie starring the digital likeness of a famous actor without their permission or compensation, the fault lies entirely with the user, not the toolmaker. For a town built on protecting scripts, likenesses, and ideas with an iron fist, this is not just a terrifying proposition, it is a declaration of war on their entire legal framework. It's a high-stakes gamble, forcing Hollywood to confront a fundamental question: is creativity a raw power to be democratized and wielded by anyone, with the consequences falling where they may? Or is it a protected craft that demands guardrails, oversight, and a shared sense of ethical responsibility? Valenzuela and Runway are forcing the entire industry to answer that question right now, not in a theoretical paper, but in their daily production pipelines. If you find this clash of ideology, this battle for the very soul of modern creativity, as fascinating as we do, take a moment to hit that like button. It lets us know you want more deep dives into the technologies and thinkers who are shaping our future. The philosophical debate is riveting, but what is pushing it to a fever pitch is the sheer speed and power of the technology itself. In late July, Runway introduced its newest model, a system named Aleph, and its capabilities sound like something torn from a science fiction script. Aleph can analyze a scene and remove people or objects from it seamlessly. creating a perfect clean slate without the need for hours of painstaking digital artist's work. It can generate entirely new camera angles from existing footage, giving a director a dramatic low-angle shot that was never actually filmed on set. It can transform objects within a scene, changing the model of a car or the style of a building with a simple text prompt. The implications are staggering. Think about the power this grants. A historical epic can be filmed on a modern backlot, and with a few keystrokes, every modern car, sign, and building can be vanished, replaced by period-accurate details, saving millions of dollars. A stunt sequence gone wrong can be saved in post-production by generating a new, perfect take from the flawed footage. It's a time machine and a magic wand rolled into one, and nowhere are its effects more profound than in the world of animation. Valenzuela's claim that AI could slash animation timelines from weeks down to seconds is not hyperbole. It is the new reality he is selling. Imagine an animator, a highly skilled artist who might currently spend an entire month meticulously crafting a few seconds of a complex character's performance. With tools like Aleph, that same animator could potentially generate dozens of variations of that performance in a single afternoon. On one hand, Valenzuela pitches this as a utopian prospect, giving artists their weekends back and freeing them from tedious labor to focus on pure creativity. On the other hand, it fundamentally alters the economic and structural reality of the animation industry. What happens to the vast teams of animators that studios currently employ? When one artist can do the work of 10 or 100, what does that mean for careers and livelihoods? This could give rise to a new renaissance of independent animation, where a single visionary artist in their bedroom could create the next masterpiece. But it could also create a content glut, a world where the market is flooded with technically proficient but soulless animation, devaluing the craft and the artists who have dedicated their lives to it. Valenzuela's strategy extends far beyond just selling his software to existing studios. He is playing a much longer game, one designed to ensure his company's influence for decades to come. Runway has forged powerful partnerships with the very institutions that cultivate the next generation of talent. New York University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, University of California, Los Angeles, and University of Southern California. He is not just adapting his tool for the current industry, he is creating a new generation of AI-native filmmakers who will grow up thinking in the language of his tools. For them, generating a scene with a prompt won't be a radical new technique. It will be as fundamental as choosing a lens or lighting a set. This is how you ensure your technology becomes the industry standard, by embedding it in the very DNA of its future creators. Valenzuela has even hinted that Runway's next massive fundraising round will come sooner rather than later, signaling that the company's meteoric growth is only accelerating. When he looks to the future, he doesn't see AI completely replacing traditional filmmaking. Instead, he sees a coexistence, drawing an analogy to the relationship between YouTube and streaming services like Netflix. They are different mediums, serving different audiences, but both are viable and massive. He envisions a world where AI-generated content becomes its own category, a democratization of visual storytelling that will allow anyone with an idea to create something that looks like a Hollywood blockbuster. This, he argues, will unleash a tidal wave of creativity, allowing for the creation of the best stories that are yet to be told. To make sure you don't miss our next investigation into the seismic shifts happening in technology and culture, take a second to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell. We are left with a powerful and deeply unsettling picture. Cristóbal Valenzuela is undeniably a visionary. He saw the future and built it, while the rest of the industry was still debating the present. His tools offer a tantalizing promise. A world of limitless creative possibility, where the only constraint is the human imagination. But his rise forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the intersection of art, commerce, and ethics. Is he a liberator, freeing artists from the shackles of time and budget? Is he a disruptor, dismantling a century-old industry for profit? Or is he something far more complex? The man who put Oscar-winning magic at a filmmaker's fingertips is the same man who shrugs at the question of ethical responsibility. Hollywood has embraced him, They've bought his software, they've funded his company, and they've integrated his AI into their most precious workflows. They have invited him in, but the one thing they cannot do is control him. And he has made it perfectly clear that he has no intention of ever putting the genie back in the bottle.
The real question is not if this technology will change cinema, but what will be left of old Hollywood once it has been completely remade in Runway's image. What will the world of cinema look like after it grants all of our wishes?